A tranquil school courtyard sits empty beneath a clear blue sky, the clock tower standing tall in the background. Something whips through the air with a sharp swish, leaving a curved trail behind. Sits quietly at his desk, his attention caught by a sudden tapping sound in the classroom. A hand taps on an open notebook, then gently taps the back of a boy's head to get his attention. Looks back nervously as his classmate smirks and apologizes with a mocking tone. He sits in the classroom, puzzled, wondering why there's nobody in front of him. With a sudden burst of urgency, he points ahead and shouts, "There." He glances sideways, quietly observing as a single drop lands beside him. He stands with his back turned, messy black hair sprinkled with white flakes, as someone calls out, "Messy." He glances back nervously in the classroom, hesitantly asking someone to stop. One of the boys leans forward with a puzzled look, reacting in surprise while the other sits quietly beside him. Strides into the classroom, catching the eye of a curious student who turns to watch him. He glares upward with rage, shouting in disbelief at what he just heard. He sits at his desk, looking back in surprise and stammering, I just." Tries to explain himself, but is suddenly punched hard in the face, leaving him shocked. A furious man yanks another's hair, shouting at him while the other cowers and stammers an apology. He furiously grabs his opponent and slams him down, shouting that he won't stop just because he's told to. A young man spits out a harsh insult, while his two companions glare off to the side with stern, contemptuous faces. Two students yank another classmate by the hair, their fight interrupted as someone shouts that the teacher is coming. He peeks anxiously from behind the door, his face full of worry. With a bruised face, he calls out desperately for the teacher. In the tense classroom, firmly restrains a blushing from behind while the other students look on in silence. An older man with glasses stands behind a podium, clearing his throat and sternly telling everyone to stop fooling around and take their seats. A confident man slings his arm over the shoulder of a bruised, tearful boy, who stares back in shock as someone exclaims, "Sure." With a battered face and nervous eyes, he steels himself and announces, "Let's start class." With a sly grin, one man slips a secret note to the other, both sharing a quiet laugh. A focused hand firmly presses a sticky note onto a dark surface, breaking the silence with a small, deliberate gesture. He stands with his back turned, letting out a menacing laugh that echoes in the darkness. A sticky note with a teasing message is stuck on the wall, while someone laughs mischievously nearby. Sporting a bruised cheek, smirks defiantly and lets out a mocking laugh. The teacher leans on the desk, sternly asking for today's date before calling on student number 14 to read aloud. Sits silently at his desk, his bruised face showing resignation as he reflects on how the adults don't care. Blurred classmates in the background emphasize his isolation. He sits alone at his desk in the darkness, feeling completely abandoned and overwhelmed by loneliness. The school bell rings as the building stands quietly under the clock. He stands casually in the classroom and asks if anyone has cigarettes. A cheerful student grins as he offers a pack of cigarettes to his classmates in the classroom. A frustrated young man grabs another student by the collar in class, mocking them for being childish. He stares at a sticky note that reads, "For no mom," clearly baffled by its strange message. One man smugly admits to writing a cruel note, laughing as the other looks at it in confusion. He crushes a potato chip in his hand, his face set with tense determination. He nervously tries to apologize, sweating and gesturing as he insists he wasn't making fun of anyone. A furious punch lands squarely on his face with a loud crack, distorting his features from the force. He's slammed hard onto the ground in front of the lockers, looking completely shocked. He launches a fierce kick forward, his determination clear in the force of his movement. A man in a suit is slammed hard to the ground, letting out a pained grunt. A furious man in a white suit slams his fist into a cowering opponent, shouting at him to remember his place. He glances back with fear as someone taunts him, telling him to stop acting special just because they've hung out. With a fierce glare, he angrily threatens someone, making it clear they should remember their place. A hand points at a startled young man in the classroom as someone says, "Also that kid." A student firmly warns others not to mess with, pointing assertively in the hallway. Stares ahead with determination, telling himself it isn't time to act yet. sits alone at his desk, quietly reflecting that no one ever bothered him again. An older man sits in deep thought, realizing that the school's top bully could solve problems faster than any teacher ever did. A young man yanks another by the hair, fist raised, while his victim winces in pain as the narration speaks of life-changing power. He curls up on the floor beneath the lockers, shielding his head in distress as he faces a bully even stronger than the one who once tormented him. He gazes intently at his reflection in the mirror, determined to take control of his own life. Gazes downward, lost in thought as he questions if this is truly all there is. His eyes burn with determination as he vows to become stronger than anyone else. Days pass quickly as a calendar on the wall marks the steady progression of time devoted to training. He does push-ups on the floor beside 2 self-defense books, his expression focused and determined. 2 martial arts books, How to Fight and Self-Defense Arts, rest side by side on the wooden floor. He sprints down the street, determination etched on his face as he rushes through the city. He silently watches a UFC fight on TV, his fist clenched in determination. He stands barefoot on a scale, noticing with hope that he's starting to gain some weight. He grits his teeth and forces out one last push-up, sweat dripping as martial arts manuals lie nearby. He stands against a wall ruler, surprised to see he's gotten taller. Sweating and straining on the floor, he reaches forward with fierce determination, whispering, "Just one." The calendar pages flip quickly, showing that March is flying by. Sweating and intense, he pores over a martial arts book, demanding more knowledge. Strides confidently through the hallway, turning heads as everyone reacts in awe at his striking new look. One person warns another to keep their distance as a third figure stands apart, creating a tense atmosphere. Vents his anger, unleashing a fierce attack on the bully in front of him. He stands confidently over a group of defeated men sprawled on the ground. He sits confidently atop a heap of defeated men, declaring he'll never be looked down on again. A wooden block tower topples, pieces scattering as things quickly fall apart. A peaceful convenience store stands quietly in the daylight. He gently blows on a broken pair of glasses, his expression thoughtful and focused. A door chime rings out as the glass door is shown inside the building. He adjusts his glasses with a surprised look as someone greets him loudly. A close-up of store shelves appears as he reflects, calling himself a disgrace in the present. A dark hallway reveals the chairman's office sign as the words "School Violence" linger in the air. The older man tries to assert control with a pointer, but the young man stands confidently, making him visibly nervous. Laughter and taunts fill the air as the tension rises. One bully demands cigarettes from another, who nervously complies, while the scene hints at an even more powerful threat looming over them both. A woman in a suit stands before a serious audience, confidently unveiling the project's core, designated bully. She explains the plan to secretly deploy a powerful bully who will target and control other bullies. One man reacts in disbelief to the other's willingness to fight violence with violence, while his opponent seems intrigued by the idea. A confused man hesitantly questions his stern superior about the absurdity of a proposed project. His eye narrows with suspicion as he pointedly asks if there's a particular bully being referred to. He sighs in frustration, unable to focus as he stares at his GED study book. He sighs in frustration at the counter, while the older man looks at him with clear disapproval. The older man vents about today's youth and his own regrets, while the younger man listens in silence, lost in his own thoughts. 2 men corner a nervous boy against a wall, taunting him about not having enough money. A group of older boys mock and threaten the younger boy as he worries about buying food for his mom, making him look like he's about to cry. Turns back, holding on to someone as he responds to a cautious call from behind. Sternly tells the others to stop bullying and orders someone to go buy him cigarettes, leaving the group uneasy. Outside the convenience store, one character grabs the other's arm and insists on tagging along, making the moment feel a bit tense but casual. A bell rings as someone stands quietly by the glass door, their face partially visible while a tree can be seen outside. Strides forward with determination, while a calm woman gently holds onto his arm. One man asks the other to handle the register while he steps away, and the request is met with a quick agreement. An intimidating, tattooed customer demands 2 packs of cigarettes, and the uneasy clerk quickly agrees. He gazes thoughtfully, realizing the person is just a high school kid. The man fixes a serious look on the group and firmly asks to see their IDs, while the woman stands beside him, equally tense. He runs a hand through his hair, looking annoyed as he questions why he'd bring something unnecessary when he lives nearby. He stands firm, insisting on seeing some IDs and telling them to leave if they can't provide any. A young woman frowns and calls out someone's rude behavior, clearly unimpressed as she stands in a sleek shop. One of the guys mocks and laughs at another, calling him a loser with no manners, while the others watch inside the store. He impatiently tosses a 50,000 won bill onto the counter and urges the person to hurry up. He sighs, annoyed by the reckless spending, insists on checking IDs, and suggests they grab some drinks. He grabs 2 bottles of raspberry wine with a firm motion, declaring, "These 2." She playfully teases him about drinking so early, while he just smirks at her. He sighs wearily and quietly calls out, looking exhausted. He snarls aggressively, demanding if the other person can't hear him. He gulps nervously, sweat trickling down his face as tension fills the air. A furious man grabs by the collar in a store, shouting in anger. The angry man grabs by the collar, yelling threats in his face while remains calm and unbothered. He peers anxiously from behind the door, debating whether to call the police but hesitant to cause a scene. A nervous man rushes in, anxiously interrupting as one character grabs another by the collar, heightening the tension. A middle-aged man awkwardly scratches his head and politely asks if they could take things outside because of other customers. He looks startled and nervous, suggesting he can watch the register while someone handles the situation outside. In a tense alley, one character aggressively demands another to act tough like before, while a third quietly observes the confrontation. One character grabs the other by the collar, threatening him with a menacing glare and harsh words. With a piercing glare, he warns sternly, "Let go, I'll give you 3 seconds." She laughs in disbelief, mocking his outrageous claim and questioning if he thinks he's in a movie. He calmly says 3 while focusing intently, his glasses catching the light in a close-up. He raises his tattooed arm, yelling a threat and preparing to slap someone. A woman frantically yells for someone to wake up, while a man stands silently in the background, looking calm and confused. His face bruised and eyes wide, he reacts in disbelief as he learns he was knocked out with a single slap. He stares in disbelief, wondering why the other guy is standing there unharmed. A furious young man with tattoos struggles against a woman holding him back as he yells at another man, accusing him of a cheap shot. They whisper urgently, plotting to call in backup while one looks confused but alert. He shouts at her to bring the others while she stands frozen, sweating and startled by his anger. A girl dashes down an alley as a young man stands back, silently watching her leave. A bruised man defiantly threatens his opponent, demanding recognition as the atmosphere grows increasingly tense. A bruised character is yanked by the collar as someone demands, "How old are you?" A startled man gasps, "What, why?" as someone seizes him by the neck, leaving him confused and alarmed. He cries out in pain as a furious hand tightens around his neck, choking him. One man, gripping his sword, proposes teaming up to eliminate a dangerous rival as his companion listens intently. Kneeling with his head bowed, he quietly reveals his age as the other stands by, watching in silence. Sweating and grimacing in pain, he desperately begs to be let go, fearing he might die. With a stern look, he warns that if cigarettes are bought again, he'll beat them up. 3 men look ahead with surprise and laughter, reacting to someone's unexpected actions. Stands over a kneeling, anxious young man in an alleyway, questioning why he's showing submission. A man with glasses looks serious as he questions whether everyone in the group is present. A burly man in a green sweater blocks the alley, demanding to know who the part-timer is and where he's from. He looks puzzled, questioning if the person in front of him is really a high school student or perhaps someone's uncle. A large man introduces himself as O from High, eyeing the other person warily while gripping a designer briefcase. He raises his hand dismissively and says he doesn't really care, clearly showing indifference. A young man delivers a fierce slap to a larger man's face, leaving him stunned and speechless. Takes a brutal punch to the face, grimacing in pain as sweat and saliva fly from the impact. A man crashes to the ground with a loud thud, his body hitting the pavement hard. A girl stares in disbelief, her eyes wide as she gasps at sudden defeat. Stands outside, warning the others that they can all attack him at once, his face tense and ready for a fight. 4 furious men glare at someone off-panel as one yells, "This guy, you bastard," while clenching his fist. With fury in his eyes, charges forward, fist clenched, shouting in anger. His hand slips into his pocket with a quiet, tense motion, heightening the suspense. Lands a brutal punch, slamming Man-Ho into the wall with a loud bang. Charges forward and lands a fierce punch on his opponent in a burst of action. Forcefully strikes while his opponent scrambles to block the attack. A man with glasses delivers a brutal punch to his opponent's face, blood and force exploding from the impact. A powerful blow lands on him, sending blood flying as he reels from the impact. With a furious shout of "Die!" someone hurls a wild punch at the bespectacled figure in the alley. He spins with incredible force, his body a blur against the city backdrop, exuding sheer determination. Lands a fierce punch on his opponent, sending debris flying with the force of the blow. A hand reaches toward a small green bottle, lying among scattered bottles and papers on a rough surface. He crouches on the ground, gripping a bottle tightly, his eyes burning with fury as he vows revenge. His face twisted with rage, he raises his clenched fist and shouts, "Die, you asshole." A punch lands with a loud thwack, sending a glass bottle flying as one character reels from the blow. He clenches his teeth and spits, his face twisted in pain as he lets out a guttural cry. Is violently slammed to the ground in a gritty alley, the impact echoing with a loud slam. Standing over 2 defeated opponents, he taunts the last challenger, asking if he's going to fight. His face is tense and sweaty as he realizes exactly who possesses such overwhelming strength. A man with messy black hair and glasses stands in a city alley as someone nervously asks if he's from High. A woman gasps in shock as she realizes is the unified leader of the area. Strides forward with confidence, leaving a trail of defeated opponents behind him as the narration recalls his rapid unification of. A lone figure strides away confidently as several men lie unconscious, the narration emphasizing his terrifying strength. Looking thoughtful in his hoodie and glasses, he wonders if the rumor about someone being handsome was just false. He bows deeply, apologizing loudly and promising it won't happen again, while someone nearby urges him to quiet down. With a stern glare, grabs the frightened man's head and harshly scolds him, making him apologize in panic. She clutches her shirt, cheeks flushed, and stammers out a nervous apology while trying to introduce herself. 2 people stand over 3 injured kids, debating what to do, while one confidently promises to handle getting them to the hospital. He scoffs sarcastically, calling the other a dummy and questioning their misunderstanding. Someone urgently slaps awake, shouting at him to get up as he groggily responds. Urgently orders everyone to get up and assume a position, while one person lies on the ground in confusion and the others anxiously follow his commands. He stands his ground and warns that if they cause trouble at the store again, he'll deal with them himself, while one of the men behind him trembles in fear. With a determined look, he issues a firm command, and someone responds with an enthusiastic "Yes, sir." A trembling figure cowers in the foreground, while someone behind a pillar starts a nostalgic, slightly regretful speech about their past. The sky glows softly at sunset, casting a tranquil, reflective mood over the scene. He walks down the street, frustrated about lost study time, but admits it felt good to let loose for once. Stands with his hands in his pockets, silently facing a stern woman in a black dress who crosses her arms at him. A man in glasses asks for a moment to talk, but the other guy immediately brushes him off, saying he's not interested. He hesitantly offers a piece of paper, explaining that he wants to make an offer, not what the other person assumed. Someone examines a business card from Education Foundation, surprised by what they see. A bearded man gazes intently at a screen labeled Chairman Gap, asking if contact has already been made. With a tense look, he leans in and asks if the offer was accepted. The entrance pillar of high school stands tall in the daylight, introducing the setting. He stands outside the school, sighing as he admits he can't believe what's happening. He straightens his tie in the hallway, quietly admitting that he's actually a 20-year-old high school student. He touches his ear thoughtfully, questioning whether he's really being asked to beat up other bullies. She adjusts her glasses and firmly explains that they want him to bully the bullies, confident in his ability to handle the task. He takes a sip from his cup and sarcastically calls out someone from the Education Foundation for acting shady. A man in a hoodie sits, startled, as someone confronts him about having investigated his background. Glasses glinting, he grabs the other's collar and taunts him for pretending to be tough despite having no real options. A man speaks intensely, urging someone to set aside their ego and suggesting this is a chance to make up for past mistakes. His face is set with determination as he asks what he needs to do next. Strides down the hallway, turning heads as students whisper about the handsome new transfer. A stern man points and yells at the students to stop wasting time and get to class, while one student stands still in the hallway. One student, looking hungry, asks for bread while riding piggyback on a tired classmate, as another announces their bread delivery boy has quit school. Glances to the side and mentions that a transfer student is joining today. A blonde young man stands confidently as someone kicks his leg from behind, while a muscular observer sits nearby and remarks about a new bread boy. A girl smacks the blonde boy's shoulder in class, accusing him about a classmate quitting, while he insists the embarrassing incident was an accident. He smirks and laughs loudly, mocking someone for failing at a task and telling him to stick to delivering bread. A man peeks out from behind a classroom door, urging the students to get to class and announcing that the transfer student has arrived. An older man angrily scolds the students to quiet down and take their seats while a younger student stands silently behind him. A calm new student stands before the class, politely introducing himself as from. One girl, looking amazed, eagerly asks to borrow his makeup while reacts with surprise. The two boys stare upward in shock, one muttering, "Oh, dang," as they react to something unexpected. Two boys joke around as a girl touches up her makeup, hinting she might be interested in the new transfer student. A stern man sighs and mutters that he'll have to beat someone up on their first day, his expression serious against a dark background. A teacher tells the new student to take the vacant seat, while he quietly settles in and listens. Two students in school uniforms introduce themselves, one confidently asking for a name while the other shyly responds, raising his hand. Two students chat about their school while one gets ready to study, reaching for his glasses and notebook. With a confident smile, he raises his hand and gets ready to show how he handles new transfer students. Complains that wearing glasses makes him feel dizzy, while someone asks about his eyesight and he reveals it's perfect. A large man quizzes a nervous student about why he wears glasses, making the atmosphere tense and awkward. He shouts and slams his fist down with fierce intensity. He pulls off his glasses, looking startled and tense after something unexpected happens. A stern man towers over someone, demanding they stop fooling around and fetch him some bread, leaving the other person surprised and unsure. One student confronts another in the classroom, questioning him about a missing classmate who used to run errands. Looks uneasy as he's pressured to take responsibility for his friend's duties. A tense moment unfolds as one man grabs another by the face, offering a sarcastic congratulations on his promotion. A nervous young man stammers as he tries to express his worries about the upcoming class to someone more imposing. The student bursts out laughing at a classmate's words, clearly mocking him. He looks worried as he holds his face, apologizing for forgetting something and thanking the other person. His face is tense as he orders everyone to close their eyes and look away. A menacing warning fills the empty white space, threatening death to anyone who dares open their eyes. A group of tense students all shut their eyes at once, as one of them anxiously looks on in disbelief. Furious, he shouts, "Have you lost your mind?" and delivers a harsh slap across the other's head. A furious man slaps a younger guy who shields his head, shouting at him to obey and stop talking back. Sweats and clenches his jaw, frustrated as he wishes he could handle things his own way. He sweats nervously as he reads through a long list of strict rules, growing frustrated and overwhelmed by all the restrictions. She warns him about the risks of their secret project, but he interrupts to ask if she's ever been to a school. He delivers a stern warning, comparing the school to a jungle and insisting that only the strong survive. He fixes a sharp gaze on his target, challenging them with pointed words about being more than average. Looks frustrated as he complains about all the rules, while someone off-panel quickly apologizes. A surprised young man is questioned by someone off-panel about why his eyes are open, catching him off guard. No Manhwa slaps the newcomer hard across the face, sneering as he reminds him that the last person in that seat was his bread delivery boy. One man grabs by the shoulders as another suggests they go together, leaving looking nervous and unsure. He scratches his head and wonders if there's any point in him tagging along as a second delivery boy. Looking uneasy, he admits his mistake as someone gently reassures him with a comforting touch. He bursts out laughing, mocking the idea of anyone trying to set up a hierarchy. Laughs heartily, eyes closed, after making a biting remark. He glares intensely and orders, "Hey, shut your trap and go." Stands up from his desk in the empty classroom, letting out a tired sigh. With a confident look, he extends his hand and demands money. He wags his finger sternly, demanding, "Aren't you gonna take out your wallet?" A hand yanks his hair and he looks ahead, surprised, while someone wonders if he's serious. One man shouts furiously about money, jabbing his finger in accusation while the other stands his ground, listening in silence. With a serious look, he pointedly questions if the other person is poor or even without parents. Is pushed on the forehead by someone, but he responds with a defiant sigh and points out that they started the confrontation. Slams his fist into his opponent's stomach, drawing a shocked gasp as the impact echoes. He grimaces in agony, spitting out saliva as he lets out a painful cry. Smashes his fist down with a resounding crack, breaking through with raw fury. Cries out in pain as he's struck hard, his face twisted in agony amid flying debris. Both men stare wide-eyed in shock, their faces filled with confusion and disbelief. Raises his fist with a bold, confident look, declaring that rules don't matter to him. A furious punch slams down on someone's head, echoing the harsh reality that strength rules the school. Clenches his teeth and pushes himself to the limit as debris swirls around him, the scene pulsing with raw determination. He stands deep in thought, recalling how his old teacher's visit made him question staying at the Abundance School, and reflecting on why he couldn't leave without an explanation. She stares ahead in shock, eyes wide as she whispers, "No way." Two boys in school uniforms stare wide-eyed, one shouting in disbelief as they try to process what just happened. He leaps to his feet, eyes blazing with shock and fury as he shouts in disbelief. Stands confidently, addressing a bystander and demanding they step forward, while one companion holds up an injured man. Sweating nervously, he shouts angrily and challenges the other person to come closer. He warns the other to brace himself, his tone serious as the startled boy looks on in the dim room. Steps forward menacingly, making the character flinch and curse in fear. The blonde character yells, "Don't mess with me," as he launches a fierce kick at his opponent in a heated standoff. The blonde-haired attacker swings his arm in a powerful strike while the other swiftly dodges behind him, heightening the tension. The blonde-haired fighter angrily swings a punch, shouting in frustration as his opponent stands still and dodges with ease. With a fierce glare, he lunges forward, forcefully attacking as he shouts, "URK." Grits his teeth and cries out in pain, his face twisted with agony. With a confident look, warns his opponent to brace themselves as he readies another punch. He clutches his stomach in agony, sweating and panicking as he fears he might actually die. One of the young men shouts angrily while the other stands tense and alert, their confrontation intensifying. He screams in rage, lifting a chair high as he threatens to attack. He loosens his tie with a sly grin, admitting he's having fun after taking a few hits. With a furious shout, he unleashes a blazing blue beam from his eyes, blasting his opponent violently backward. Sunlight streams through the window of a classroom door labeled 1-1, setting a calm scene. He smirks with a bruised face, clearly satisfied and relieved after the fight. Stands confidently over two battered students, reflecting on how being a designated bully has led to this moment. A bruised man is yanked by the hair and questioned harshly about the quality of the bread. He leans forward with a curious look, asking why all the fuss about the bread and suggesting they get some for him too. Bruised and defiant, one of the injured boys yells that beating them doesn't mean their challenger controls the class, while his friend stands tensely by his side. The protagonist glares and irritably denies being the top student, while a girl holding a phone looks surprised and the others watch tensely. A pair of feet step through the sliding door with a loud clunk as someone threatens that trouble is coming. With a bloodied face, he looks up in surprise and calls out too, realizing he's arrived. A defiant young man glares intensely as he challenges someone, demanding to know if they're trying to take over the class. Narrows his eyes and questions if their so-called top bully is really as tough as he claims. A confident young man strides forward indoors, calmly remarking, "Making a scene on your first day, huh?" Two anxious men stand in the hallway, being questioned about how they both lost to just one person. Scratches his head and questions why the other guy looks completely untouched, doubting if any hits landed at all. Three students stand tensely in the corner, as one suggests they avoid trouble and try to get along on their first day. Three anxious students stand in the classroom, worried about their condition and hoping will come out on top, while one figure in a suit looks away in calm silence. Several pairs of feet shuffle tensely across the locker room floor, signaling an approaching confrontation. With a smug grin, the red-haired boy taunts the nervous group, pointing out how they're backing away in fear instead of fighting. He studies his opponent with suspicion, doubting the claim that he doesn't want to fight. He observes his opponent closely, noting how he shifts his weight and readies his shoulder for a quick jab. He notices his opponent subtly shifting into a stance, realizing an attack could come at any moment. He speaks with determination, insisting that the transfer student will lose because is fundamentally different and stronger than anyone else. A stern man orders the younger man to fetch some popcorn, leaving him confused and surprised. He looks shocked and stammers, refusing to comply as anxiety fills his face. He stares in disbelief, his face twisted in shock as he shouts out angrily. The older man tries to lighten the mood with small talk about lunch, while the young man quietly turns away in the hallway. Looks thoughtful as he realizes the other kids no longer fear. In the school hallway, one of the young men introduces himself as No and asks the other for his name. Starts to introduce himself, but is suddenly ambushed by a swift hand attack that blocks his vision, leaving him shocked and defensive. A foot in a sandal and sock swings forward for a sudden kick, catching everyone off guard. Looks down in alarm as a foot in a sandal aims straight at him, realizing he's being targeted. A shocked eye widens as he exclaims in disbelief, "A low blow." He kneels on the ground, clutching himself in agony as the others look on, the devastating effects of a low blow clearly explained. A man clutches his head in distress, haunted by the looming consequences of his actions. Against an ominous backdrop, a stern warning is given about a forbidden move, emphasized by crossed chains. He stares ahead in shock, sweat running down his face as he struggles to accept the news. He steps forward with his hands up, instinctively bracing himself to block an attack. One character yells, "It's a fake, you dumbass," while furiously winding up to punch the other, who braces himself tensely. A man in a suit is struck hard across the face, the impact leaving him visibly stunned. Winds up with determination, his fist slicing through the air as he prepares to land a powerful punch. The two boys excitedly talk about a famous move, confident that no transfer student would know how to counter it. He throws a punch in frustration as his opponent smoothly dodges, determined to strike again before losing momentum. A foot in a sandal slams into someone's leg with a resounding kick. He stumbles forward with a strained look, quietly uttering, "Huh." Someone forcefully grabs collar, leaving him shocked and defensive. Grabs his opponent and slams him hard to the ground, showing off his strength. Sits on the floor by the window, looking tired and deep in thought, one sandal off as he catches his breath. He glares sideways with a bead of sweat, clearly irritated, and calls out that the other guy has crossed the line in their fight. Leaning against the door frame with a smug grin, he brushes off the accusation, insisting it's fine since he didn't actually hit him. Two men nervously discuss how the fight could get risky if the transfer student figures out Snoo's strategy. With a determined look, he raises his fists and declares he'll fight seriously this time, no longer holding back. He scratches his head uneasily and warns not to target such a sensitive area next time. Reaches into the locker, firmly grabbing a strap or handle with a focused expression. Braces himself as charges in with a fierce spinning attack. flinches in surprise as something whips past him with a loud whoosh, shouting in alarm. A red-haired attacker charges straight at, who looks startled and on edge thinking, what kind of guy? Delivers a swift, fierce punch to his stunned opponent in the hallway. Throws a quick punch, but it's blocked by his opponent, heightening the tension. Furiously swings a punch and shouts for his opponent to stop dodging. A young man urgently shouts for everyone to stop interfering in their fight. His face is tense and determined. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes someone else was helping. The students in the classroom all turn their heads, tense and alert, as someone makes an entrance. He points to himself in shock, asking if they're talking about him. No Manhwa charges at with a furious look, fist drawn back to strike, while stands calm and unflinching. A fist crashes down with a loud smack, delivering a powerful blow. With a sigh, he grabs his opponent's arm, clearly annoyed by the confrontation. No Manhwa lunges at with a taunt, but remains unfazed. He sharply blocks an incoming punch and declares the fight is over. With a fierce expression, he lands a powerful punch, the impact echoing with a sharp crack. Stares ahead with a tense, determined look as he utters, "No Manhwa." One boy slams another's head hard against the locker room floor, filling the air with a violent slam. Looking weary and frustrated, he admits he never wants to fight like that again. Two men, sweating and wide-eyed, shouts name in alarm. Four boys stare at a phone, visibly shocked and worried by someone's overwhelming strength. A stern young man in uniform pokes someone lying on the ground, ordering him to get up. A stern student orders his classmates to take the unconscious boy to the infirmary and demands they all report back once he's awake. Two men, sweating nervously, exchange frantic words as panic sets in about their dire situation. Sunlight pours over a door marked Teacher Conference Room, quietly setting the scene. A stern figure with glasses warns through a window about the challenges he'll face as the new transfer student. One of the group begins to sum things up as everyone sits around the table, each showing signs of tension or fatigue. A confident man with glasses explains they've bought extra time by delaying a meeting, watching to see what will be done with it. She walks alone down a bright hallway, wondering if enough time has passed to create a new hierarchy. He stands in the hallway, lost in thought as he quietly observes his surroundings. A young woman with long dark hair peeks out from behind a door as someone internally recognizes her as Lee, the project manager. One student hands printouts to her friend and gently suggests they return to class together. A young woman glances to the side with worry, questioning why someone is at the school. The panel shows a door labeled 11, introducing a new classroom location. He crosses his arms and firmly tells the others to stop bullying and focus on studying. The three boys stand awkwardly in their uniforms, nervously asking to stop as they feel embarrassed by the attention they're getting. Confidently tells them he can be a friend or a nightmare, while the other nervously suggests being friends and jokes about him sounding like a drill sergeant. A muscular man calls out a younger guy for eating too much bread, leaving him looking puzzled and unsure how to respond. One man grabs another by the shirt, his voice sharp as he demands obedience, while the other looks anxious and quickly agrees. Stands before the students, warning them to report any bullying and promising to protect them. Smirks confidently, vowing to break others down and rebuild them as better people. Stands nervously, sweating as he wonders if the new classmate will make things better, while two classmates watch him. The scene shifts to a quiet hallway with wooden walls and a sign for room 13, setting the atmosphere. Someone laughs while watching a video on their phone of two guys fake fighting in front of some lockers. Three boys chat in the classroom, with one dismissing the transfer student's skills while another shows something on his phone. The two men laugh together as one mocks attempt at showing something amusing on his phone. A stern man in a suit looks down with disappointment, criticizing slow progress after 2 months. One young man scoffs at a rival's reputation, claiming he only reached the top by fighting dirty and isn't as skilled as, while the other listens quietly. He takes off his jacket in a sunlit room, feeling determined to check his condition and looking for his punching bag. A nervous young man sweats as he timidly offers something, his voice trembling. The two men face each other tensely as one accepts the challenge with a calm, steady voice. A fierce punch slams into the man's torso with a loud smack, sending shockwaves through the scene. His face contorts in fury as he grits his teeth, spitting out a guttural cry of pain and anger. With a defiant grin, he asks how his punch measures up, then groans in pain as he spits out blood. Scolds someone with a frustrated look, upset that they ate before they were supposed to. With a smug grin, the tattooed young man demands a sandbag to warm up before taking on the transfer student. A modern high school stands beneath a clear sky as the thought of a second chance at high school lingers. He gazes at the teacher in front of the class, silently regretting not appreciating this time in his life. Sits in class, determined to leave his shady past behind and use the designated bully program as a chance for a fresh start. The panel focuses on a quiet corner of the room, showing a closed box mounted on the wall and part of a wooden doorframe. The teacher announces the end of class and reminds everyone to clear the chalkboard. One student politely asks to borrow notes during break, and the other agrees with a smile. He yawns loudly and stretches, complaining about being hungry. A demanding voice calls out for the delivery boy, prompting a student to turn around in curiosity. Inside a locker room, the two men argue heatedly as one, red-faced and sweating, shouts at the other to go get it himself. The blonde character angrily shouts while standing on a friend's back, catching everyone off guard in the tense locker room. The boy calls out to the nervous student in the hallway, apologizing for using him as a ride out of habit. He scowls in frustration, complaining about the school's strict rules and feeling helpless because of someone's presence. The group debates whether it could win a fight if it happened outside of school, with some urging him to prove himself and others expressing doubt. Listens quietly, deep in thought. With arms crossed, she mocks her classmates and challenges one of them in the classroom. A cheerful girl praises fighting skills, leaving him looking surprised. She shyly suggests that they could take classes together. The guys argue about a girl's predictable flirting, with one frustrated and the others listening or chiming in skeptically. Tension fills the room as they vent about her behavior. He adjusts his glasses and asks if there's a gym nearby, his tone curious and serious. She claps excitedly, suggesting personal lessons, while he looks at her with a curious expression. Looking puzzled, turns to the other character, who stammers uncertainly, trying to speak. She turns away from him in the classroom, her face tense with worry as he watches her in silence. He grows anxious as he realizes he might be blocking someone's view of the chalkboard. He absent-mindedly scribbles in his notebook and apologizes, clearly uninterested in the conversation. He looks down with a gentle expression, quietly encouraging someone to keep studying and become a great person. A determined young woman firmly scolds the three uneasy boys, telling them to focus on studying instead of wasting time on revenge. They listen in silence, visibly uncomfortable. One character brings up revenge and the recent power shift at school, while the other reacts with surprise. Warns his group about powerful rivals from other classes planning to challenge the transfer student, his confidence clear as shadowy figures of his former opponents loom behind him. With a weary, condescending look, scolds someone for winning without real skill. Warns with a serious expression that if either opponent defeats the transfer student, they'll all fall under that person's control. No Manhwa snaps in anger, insisting they're the worst, while looks down quietly and watches with his arms crossed. Peeks tensely from behind a door, his face hidden in shadow as he listens carefully. His eye widens in shock, his brow furrowed with sudden realization. A smug blonde student leans in the doorway, taunting about looking fine after a recent beating. Two nervous young men exchange uneasy remarks as they notice someone approaching, suspecting he's come to make fun of them. Three students stand at the classroom door as one teases for passing out after just one hit, making him feel embarrassed. One man stands assertively, challenging the other with harsh words, while the seated man remains calm and tries to ease the tension. He stands up from his desk with a defiant look, boldly inviting a fight. He clicks his pen with a fierce glare and threatens to make someone lose control out of fear. He smirks nervously, trying to act tough as he denies being scared and mocks his opponent for holding a weapon. Tension flares as one man threatens the other with a pencil, while his opponent defiantly tells him to say it to his face. The two lock eyes in shock, tension crackling in the air as they realize something important. Sits at his desk, looking frustrated as he complains about how hard it is to study in these conditions. One student reluctantly stands up to keep studying during break, while the other watches him seriously from his desk. A serious young man with hair glances sideways, recognizing the transfer student who defeated. With smug grins, the two young men taunt their opponent, suggesting he should just take another nap. The two red-haired students vent their frustration about someone they dislike, agreeing they'd rather support the transfer student. Two boys enter a tense classroom while another sits quietly at his desk, watching them. Two suspicious men quietly question whether the calm student in front of them is really who they think he is, noting he looks different from a video. The atmosphere is tense as he continues writing, unfazed by their scrutiny. One boy mocks the other's glasses and calls him a loser, while the target of the insult sits in silence, looking dejected. With a taunting glare, the blonde-haired boy provokes his silent rival, daring him to speak up like before. Pauses in silence, his reflective glasses hiding his eyes as he contemplates. An enraged man shouts furiously, demanding a response from someone he's confronting. Two guys taunt their classmate, mocking his silence and fear as they confront him in the classroom. As one person writes intently, another grabs and cracks his fingers, speaking with a tense, aggressive tone. The guy desperately grabs the other's hand and shouts for him to wait. Tears streaming down his face, he cries out in agony, desperately begging for mercy. One of the students desperately begs for everything to stop, while the others look on in shock and alarm. He squeezes his fingers tightly, warning others to come back later if they don't want to lose them, determined to finish writing during the break. Sweating and anxious, he stammers out a nervous promise to keep up the good work. The guy sternly tells the others to leave right away, his tension clear as they listen anxiously. One of the boys hesitantly urges the other to leave, but his friend looks confused and surprised by the sudden suggestion. With a defiant smirk, he snaps back as if. The blonde man charges forward, shouting furiously, while the other remains calm and unbothered. Calmly intercepts and restrains his blonde opponent's aggressive attack, maintaining his composure. Extends his hand, eyes locked in a fierce, determined stare as he readies himself for action. Lands a fierce punch to his opponent's face with a loud crack. Grimaces in pain, his eyes rolling back as he cries out for. A worried character kneels beside, frantically checking his pulse and shouting for help as lies unconscious on the floor. The students discuss reputation as the top bully, with one nervously confirming it and another remarking on his impatience. A stern man with glasses warns someone to deliver a deadly message, making it clear that there won't be a second chance. The person receiving the threat nervously agrees. Sits at his desk, surprised as a classmate excitedly praises him for defeating, realizing he's unintentionally taken over class 2. The group stands close together, sweating and tense, as they react anxiously to something alarming. With a calm, resolute look, he says he's chosen to forgive the transfer student instead of seeking revenge. Looking uncertain, he considers using this moment to stop acting like a thug and start focusing on his studies, while a few classmates watch from the doorway. Stands with arms crossed and calls out to Manhwa, while his friends smirk in the background. Stands behind Manhwa, frustrated and suspicious as he confronts the group, threatening to pull out his pen again. Faces the group with a firm warning, telling one of them to stay seated and making it clear he isn't there for him. The tense atmosphere lingers as the others watch him closely. Two students face off in a heated moment, with one challenging the other and someone nearby urging him to stop acting uncool. Two students sit anxiously at their desks, surrounded by intimidating classmates who close in around them. He hesitates, deciding to take notes later as a bead of sweat forms on his face. 5 students loom over 2 classmates in a classroom, creating a tense and intimidating atmosphere. A tattooed man firmly tells a boy to leave so he can talk to his friend, and the boy hesitantly agrees while another young man watches with concern. 2 classmates mock as he quietly studies at his desk, unfazed by their teasing. One man mocks the other about his good looks, while the second nervously questions if it's meant as an insult or a compliment. Shim confronts the transfer student in class, smugly warning him not to get cocky after defeating. Lets out a sigh and slams his pen down on a blank notebook, clearly frustrated. A frustrated young man removes his glasses and snaps at someone, demanding they get to the point. With a smug smirk, he leans in and taunts his opponent, questioning if he really thinks he's strong. Three men confront a seated guy, taunting him about looking weak without his gang. Smirks and challenges the other person's claim, intrigued by their confidence. One student confidently suggests they meet after school, while the other listens calmly in the classroom. With a determined look, he warns his opponent not to underestimate him, declaring he's no pushover. With determination, he urges everyone to move out as the group stands ready behind him in the classroom. Looks frustrated as he scratches his head, wondering why everyone is approaching him and lamenting his lack of a normal school life. Two students exchange worried glances as one admits concern for the transfer student, surprising the other. She declares her hatred for and warns the boy about becoming his next target, leaving him visibly worried. With a firm look, he rejects the idea, making his stance clear. As one student gets up and walks away from the group, another calls after him with concern, asking where he's going. She asks if he's going to talk to the transfer student and wonders if she should come along. A young man asks to sit next to a man in a suit, but the man firmly refuses. Tension fills the air as they face off. One character stands up and pushes his chair back, admitting the harsh truths about, while the other calmly adjusts his glasses and dismisses the concern. With a serious look, he tells the other person he wants to help them. Both characters stare wide-eyed, stunned by something unexpected. Exclamation and question marks float above them, highlighting their shock. Gasps in shock, quickly covering his mouth with his hand. His face tense and thoughtful, he asks if they really want to help him. The panel shows a close-up of a classroom door labeled 11, setting the scene. In a tense classroom exchange, one character offers tactical advice for taking down, while the other listens intently. He sits at his desk, adjusting his glasses with a determined look and firmly says, "I don't need it." Confidently rejects help, while the other man reflects on his boxing experience with concern. As one man explains that he has no interest in boxing tournaments, the central figure calmly takes off his jacket to reveal his tattooed arms. A speech bubble lingers in the empty frame, hinting at the deeper reason behind his boxing. Lifts his shirt and loudly demands to know where his punching bags are. A tattooed man confronts three nervous boys by the lockers, demanding to know where the fourth member of their group is. One of the boys hesitantly reveals that punching bag 4 is in the hospital, leaving the others worried and confused. A muscular man defensively demands to know if he's to blame, while the other nervously insists the injury wasn't his fault. With a smug grin, he taunts his opponents, claiming he's just giving free lessons and blaming their weakness for their predicament. The muscular man scratches his head and encourages his teammates to work harder, ready to get started. Three boys stand in a classroom with their fists raised, looking tense as one of them warns that things won't be fun unless everyone takes it seriously. With a fierce glare, he raises his fists and taunts his opponent, threatening a harsher beating if the fight isn't entertaining. Three terrified schoolboys rush toward a tattooed man in the tense hallway as one of them screams in fear. A tattooed man slams his fist into the terrified student's face with a sickening crack, sending shockwaves through the air. Lands a powerful punch, sending his opponent flying backward with force. His face is drenched in sweat as he squeezes his eyes shut, overwhelmed by stress. He clenches his fists and grits his teeth, sweat dripping down as he groans in pain. A furious man with tattoos lands a brutal punch on his opponent, breaking his nose as he yells in anger. Furious, he shouts and lands a forceful punch, the impact echoing with a loud smack. With a loud slam, the young man crashes to the floor in front of his intimidating opponent, tension crackling in the air. The man in the suit trembles anxiously, sweat beading on his face. He clenches his fists and demands action, his voice sharp and urgent against the tense, red-lit backdrop. Stares ahead in horror, his face twisted with shock against a swirling dark backdrop. With a furious scream, the young man charges straight at the tattooed figure, ready to attack. Lands a fierce punch to his opponent's face, shouting, "Too slow." A tattooed man hurls a punch while his opponent, clad in a school uniform, blocks it and shouts, "Keep your guard up." A fierce fighter shouts instructions while landing powerful blows, as a struggling student tries to defend himself and others look on tensely. He sits on the floor, clutching his bruised face after a harsh smack, pain clear in his eyes. Stands over the group with a stern look, demanding to know who gave them permission to sit down. towers over the battered students by the lockers, taunting them and warning that he was just getting started. With a smug grin, he mocks his opponent for pretending to be knocked out, urging him to take the fight seriously. Two battered students anxiously look up as someone threatens to send them all to the hospital. Sunlight bathes the modern building, offering a peaceful moment under clear skies and trees. Students at the cafeteria entrance whisper in awe as the handsome transfer student arrives. 3 students stand with food trays as one of them, sweating nervously, admits to feeling more overwhelmed than the others. He sets his tray of food down on the table, ready to eat. He gazes down at his food, feeling nostalgic as he remembers how much he missed having proper school meals. He holds up 3 fingers and insists he's only giving these away because he's a nice guy, stressing not to tell anyone else. He admits he couldn't really enjoy them himself because of what others might think. 2 students chat excitedly about the handsome new transfer student, glancing over to get a better look at him. She rests her chin on her hand, looking thoughtful as she quietly wonders, today. 4 men sit together at lunch, tense as one of them questions if the new student who defeated and is trying to take over the school. 2 men stand by the window, debating a rumor about someone taking down opponents with a single hit. One boasts, while the other doubts it's possible. 2 characters chat in close-up, speculating about someone's luck and discussing an upcoming fight with. Thoughtfully strokes his chin and wonders aloud whether someone's success was just luck or true skill. A cheerful girl approaches in the cafeteria, inviting him and the others to eat together and urging someone to make room. The students chat casually at the cafeteria table, joking about mixing their food as one of them suddenly brings up his name. 2 students sit together in the classroom, speculating about the handsome transfer student and whether he's already joined crew. He sits by the window in his suit, grinning as he confidently boasts about being better looking. The 2 sit across from each other in the cafeteria, exchanging serious words about an upcoming fight as they eat. He eats quietly, looking serious as he questions why the other person is so nervous and keeps offering help. He stands quietly, admitting that his fight with was never truly resolved. The 2 young men clash fiercely, exchanging punches as the fight intensifies outside the building. Bruised and defiant, he grits his teeth and clenches his fists, ready to keep fighting. With a smug grin, he taunts his exhausted opponent, promising to finish him off only after he's covered in blood. Seething with anger, yells and swings a fierce punch at, who braces himself to block the attack. Delivers a crushing punch, leaving his opponent reeling as the fight turns completely one-sided. In the middle of a tense boxing match, one fighter uses the open space to throw a quick punch as his opponent dodges, both moving with sharp focus. They exchange fierce punches as one deftly dodges and counters the other's attacks, both locked in an intense fight. Just as he thinks he's about to lose, he musters his strength and slams his opponent hard into the wall. Determined to seize his only chance, he reaches forward and activates a forbidden skill as light flares beneath him. Visibly shaken and sweating, urgently begs for reassurance, unable to believe what just happened. Trapped in a fierce headlock, he cries out in pain and admits defeat, begging for mercy. He speaks with defiance, insisting he feels no shame for his actions, though others refuse to recognize his victory. He awkwardly eats his food, sweating as he questions if someone actually expected recognition. A determined fighter readies himself in a defensive stance as someone explains his outboxer style and precise, rapid punches. One student recalls how, after defeating his classmate, the other never dared to challenge him again, leaving the nervous boy silently sweating. The 3 boys sit tensely at the cafeteria table as one urges another to take down a rival, only to be met with a defiant retort. The boys enter the cafeteria and notice is missing, deciding to eat without him while one of them watches thoughtfully. 3 students chat over lunch, speculating about a fired-up confrontation and joking that will easily win. A piece of side dish is flicked off a food tray with a sharp motion. One man hurriedly apologizes for an accident, looking anxious, while the other stands nearby with a sly smirk. He fixes a determined gaze on someone and demands, "What do you think you're doing?" Sitting at the cafeteria table, one student pushes away the squid dish and suggests the other eat it, prompting an annoyed outburst and a fist slammed on the table. With a smug look, he shoves a tray of food toward the others, brushing off their feelings and telling them to eat it or not. He doesn't care. Two men laugh together and get ready to leave, while the third stands apart, looking serious and silent. A firm hand grabs someone's arm as a voice demands, "Where do you think you're going?" Looks down seriously and clarifies that the object in question is bellflower roots, not squid.